Tao po.
How do I sino to?
Si Patty ito. Hello, Kim.
Kumusta ka, Patty? Magandang gabi,
Yeah.
Patty. Or magandang araw, like good day, right?
Yeah, that's good. Good evening. But
Yeah.
hey, BFFs, this is your host, Patty.
And your other host, Kim.
And if you were confused there in the beginning, we were actually talking in Tagalog.
Sa Tagalog. Oo. Because
We're going to be talking about just that, our Filipino roots in this episode. Magandang umaga po sa mga listeners namin.
ooh, that was good.
For those of you who don't know, Kim is actually half Filipino
Yes.
and half Romanian,
Yes.
and I'm a full-blooded Filipina.
She full
What's
blood.
up?
Mhm.
Yeah,
What's
so
up?
today,
Kamusta?
kamusta ka? So we're going to be talking a little bit about the language and dialects from where we come from, and also where our family is from in the Philippines and specific regions,
Yeah, some history.
and some customs and similarities and differences, because Philippines is pretty big actually, if you weren't aware.
Yes.
And there's even 3 different main regions there. We're going to be talking about that, and also the fun part, the food and traditional dishes that our beautiful motherland offers. So
Yes.
let's get right into it.
Let's do this. Sige na. We could start with me if you don't mind, Patty, because so I'm half, and because I'm half and Patty is full Filipino, we're definitely going to have a lot of contrasting experiences. And my mom is from Manila, which is kind of the epicenter of the Philippines.
It's the capital.
Yeah, it's the capital of the Philippines. So I thought we could start with that. My mom is from Manila, specifically from Guadalupe Nuevo, Makati City, which is a barrio or barangay, what we call it in the Philippines. And that is a inner city neighborhood or ward or village within Metro Manila, the city of Philippines. So that is where she grew up, and she had 9 other siblings, so you can imagine it was a very packed.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was a very packed house in that little neighborhood, and everyone knew everyone. It's, I don't know, very
They're
small town vibes.
chismoso.
Chismosos
Chismosa.
everywhere. Or they grew up with a major sense of community and family. And you can say that for nearly everywhere in the Philippines. I think even amongst provinces is very community focused, and everyone is family. Everyone is your tita, your tito, your ate. Yeah.
So different from the US, right? Where your
Yeah.
neighbors, you don't meet them the whole 10 years that you're living there in your house or neighborhood rather.
Yeah, and I mean, in different parts of the US, there are those places where it's very community focused and whatnot, but that's not what we're used to, at least. Here in the Bay Area, there's a lot of culture, but being like family with your neighbor is not part of it. I don't think.
Yeah.
Just rare parts, maybe. Going back to Manila, the name Manila actually derives from the phrase, or not phrase, but sentence, Maynila. And May means like there is or there are. And I'm sure you know that. Patty speaks a
Yeah.
different dialect, but she knows a lot of Tagalog, which I'm very thankful for. So we can still have like a mini conversation in Tagalog because she knows a lot of it. I think it's the main kind of dialect. So as I was doing research, I learned that Filipino is now considered the name for the language overall.
Are you
And
serious?
yeah, it's weird. And I still don't know if that's actually correct, but that's based on all the research I did. That's
Oh.
what, yeah, the Filipino is the language, and that Tagalog is the main dialect. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess it's because, like, when you go to the Philippines, you think Filipino, right? The people that live there are called Filipinos. And
Yeah.
so I guess you think the language is Filipino too. But oh man, that's
I
kind of
know it
sad.
sounds so Americanized, right? It just reminds
Yeah.
me of growing up and people learning or finding out that I was half Filipino and asking me, "Can you say something in Filipino?" I would always correct them saying, "No, it's Tagalog. Filipino is not our language. It is what we are."
Damn, all
But
those years of defending for your
right,
language.
for it
Kinda
to
like
just end up actually being considered Filipino. Anyway, moving on from that. So, my family speaks pure Tagalog, and Tagalog is spoken throughout most of the Philippines, but we have a lot of other main dialects. So, in Tagalog, Manila comes from my nilad, and nilad was a flowering shrub, like a bush, like flower bushes, and apparently there were many of them along the banks of the Pasig River, which served as the main transport for trade and just getting to the Philippines. So yeah,
I did not
Manila
know that.
is after Maynilad, because of the flowering shrubs along the Pasig River. So that was cool to learn. And I would just kind of like to paint a picture now for our listeners. It's cool because this past November, I was just there. I recently visited, and I visited as I was a kid growing up and then just recently. So this picture is very clear in my head still, but just imagine cars being driven everywhere. In lanes that might seem too small, or there might not even be lanes at all. It's just people are driving literally everywhere. Amongst the cars, there are motorized tricycles. And if you're unfamiliar with what that is or what that could look like, it's basically a kind of a taxi driver in a motorbike or motor tricycle. And they have a compartment for seats next to it. So you kind of have to squeeze in to even get into the motor tricycle. But that's a very affordable and cheap means of transportation. You can barely hear anyone while you're riding in it, and it only fits about two, three people.
Or 4 if you were fine with sitting behind the driver
That's right. Yeah.
and, like, riding sideways.
Holding on to them even because some people have to, but yeah, so that's exactly what the motor tricycle is. And I did ride that a lot, like with my mom and my auntie when we were just there. And yeah, you can barely hear anyone because all you hear is the motor. Also, there are a lot of jeepneys. I think that might even be the most popular means of transportation within the Philippines is jeepneys, which look like jeeps but extended. So imagine kind of a mix between a jeep and a bus. And a lot of a lot of families like to customize their jeepneys. So a lot of the jeepneys will look colorful and have people's surnames or last names on there to show that it's their jeepney. And these can also be used as taxis as well. So you also see people walking everywhere. It's very populated in Manila for sure. People playing in the streets like badminton,
Badminton?
badminton.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. I don't know if it's so common now, but I know every time I visited growing up, I would always play badminton in the streets with my cousins. And I know a lot of my siblings' memories include badminton, but there's a lot of street games going on and even makeshift basketball courts on random street corners. Aside from that, you'll see historical churches and malls such as the Great Mall or the Mall of Asia, which is one of the biggest malls I think in the world. I think it's the third biggest mall in the world. Manila also has a lot of hotels and everything because it is the capital. It is where people fly in and commonly maybe stay for a night and then go wherever else they want to go within the Philippines. Oh, also a lot of street food and smog in the air, unfortunately, but that's because of all the, jeepneys, the motor tricycles, the driving, everything going on. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of smog. Would you say is Philippines even considered a third world country? Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it is
actually,
actually.
when I was looking up, facts about the Philippines, it is considered a third world country, but it's also a developing country. I would say that the economy there, I mean, of course, compared to the US it's not as good, but,
Yeah.
like, cities like Manila, they do drive businesses, even like Fortune 500 companies and startups. There's a lot of them there.
Interesting. Good to know. If you've never been to a country similar to Philippines, I mean, I haven't been all around the world, but I've visited a few places. Like Italy was very similar to Philippines for me, or where me and Patty went in Italy was very similar to Philippines to me.
Naples?
Yeah, Naples, Napoli.
Yeah,
Um,
their main, like, city center hub for sure reminded me of the Philippines.
yeah, absolutely. So if you've never been to a place like that, you could experience a bit of culture shock, I'd say. Um, just gonna be honest about that. But Filipino people are very friendly, and again, there's a huge sense of family, and they don't make fun of others like travelers or tourists. I think a lot of them do work on being welcoming or just respectful, at least. So, even though you might experience some culture shock, you won't feel too scared for your safety. Again, there's a lot of street food everywhere. Walking around, you could get things like banana Q.
Those are the ones, like, they're on sticks, right? So they're
Yeah, it's like a kebab.
kind of skewer stick? Yeah.
Yeah, and they're deep fried caramelized bananas. So good. Um,
Mhm.
they're also called pritong saging. So saging is banana in Tagalog. Pritong, I'm assuming, is fried. Maybe
Yeah.
pritong saging fried banana. You can also get taho, and usually taho is sold in the morning and had in the morning like breakfast. It's made from silken tofu, caramelized brown sugar, pearls or sago. We refer to pearls or boba as sago. So there's sago in that. Other street food is like siopao, which is a steamed and fried bun, commonly filled with pork and other stuff.
I have a question, Kim.
Yes, opo.
When you were in the Philippines this past November, did you hear any man going, "Taho," in the morning?
Oh my god, absolutely.
Because that's literally, like you said, they go in the morning and they literally sometimes even wake you up, especially on the weekends when you sleep in, and then you're just trying to catch the man with, like, the 2, buckets on his back.
That adds to the picture that I was trying to paint earlier. Definitely
You're
you
welcome.
Thank salamat. Yeah, you definitely hear the taho, and also there's men walking around always selling buko, which is coconut that they, open up right in front of you and it's fresh for you to enjoy. I definitely took advantage and had a lot of buko when I was there. That's like my favorite fresh coconut that you have readily available for you nearly anywhere that you walk.
Not too expensive either.
Yeah, no, I think it was, and I'm not even kidding, 25 cents. So the house that we were staying in was in the neighborhood that my mom grew up in. And when the buko guy, or I don't know like what to call the vendors, but when he came by with all the buko, I got nearly half of his cart because a lot of family was staying with us. I remember
Mhm.
finding out it was like 25 cents or like 23 cents. It was like a off number, and thinking, okay, well, let's just get all of this cart for all of the family because it's obviously it's always hot in the Philippines. A lot of humidity. You're always going to be moist. As much as that makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's super humid there.
Anyway, moving on from buko and street food overall, Manila is known for, I think, halo halo. It's hard to tell because there's so many obviously different parts of the Philippines, and Manila is the capital. So I feel like Manila has adapted a lot of these delicacies from different parts of the Philippines.
Yeah, true. It's kind of like the melting pot of all like, parts of the Philippines, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Thank you. So there's a lot of Filipino fusion as well. There's things like sinigang paella. For those unfamiliar with sinigang, is a traditional Filipino food, like a sour soup. And paella, isn't that?
It's from Spain, right?
Oh, it's from
Oh, no.
Spain. Thank you. I don't know. I thought Southern cuisine or like Southern comfort food had paella as well, but I could be confusing that with something else. But yeah, you're right. So there's sinigang paella in
I've
Manila. You
never
can find
heard
that
that
there.
before.
Isn't that crazy? There's also sisig taco. I said tacos.
Ooh.
Sisi
Tacos.
tacos, kare kare burrito. I feel like you'd be into
Oh
that
my
maybe.
gosh.
So
What?
weird.
That sounds delicious.
Right. It's so
I mean, I'm
interesting, all
imagining
the
all of this
fusion.
plant-based, of course, but
Yeah, same. Um, and in Makati City, specifically, I found that there's an upcoming vegan plant-based scene there. So that's really cool. I didn't get to eat at many because I didn't spend too much of my time in Makati City. So the most eating I did or like exploring of restaurants was when we went to resorts and islands. But I'm looking forward to going back and trying more of the food scene actually in Manila because yeah, there's a definitely a huge up and coming plant based scene. Aside from all those crazy fusions, there's of course the traditional caldareta, which is sort of like a beef potato stew. There's kare kare, and there's all the lumpia your heart could desire, from fried lumpia Shanghai or fresh lumpia that's rolled in the. I
mm.
forgot what that's made of, but it's like a fresh, almost like a crepe wrapper actually, and it has fresh lettuce and a minced meat
Oh,
tofu.
yes.
I
It's more
forgot.
yes, Goldilocks has that,
Oh yes, that's right.
right? Yeah.
With
Yeah,
like a
yeah, it's the
sweet
soft,
sauce.
like,
Yeah.
peanutty sauce.
There you
Mhm.
go, yeah. Um, and there's also turon. I'm sure there's turon throughout the Philippines, but that is my favorite dessert. Just putting that out there. I love me some turon.
Turon with some vanilla ice cream on top.
Oh, yes. That sounds like a fusion as well. That definitely sounds like Manila right there.
It's like American fusion, Filipino American fusion.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, but that sounds so delicious. So I feel like I've gone over some of the main points. Of Manila and given you an overall picture of what it's like. It's very hustle bustle city. I don't know if I should say hustle or it's just a very bustling city with subcities and inner city neighborhoods like the one that my mom is from, and community is a major thing. Food definitely brings us all together. So if you've had any Filipino friends growing up even here in the States, you've probably gotten the sense that food is very important. So maybe your Filipino friend's mom would say, have you ate yet? Or eat again? Or they almost force you to eat. Like, come on.
And then they ask why you're so fat. Why you so fat?
Right. Not to shame moms, but moms would sometimes shame us growing up, like, oh, you're getting fat now.
For sure, I
Or
still get
yeah,
that.
same here. Or like you're too skinny. Like recently, even like last week, my mom was like, "Oh, anak, you're getting too skinny now. Like, are you eating? Are you having breakfast? Like, are you having all your meals?" So, yeah, it's definitely a big thing within the Filipino culture to make sure that you're fed and fed well, but
That's so true,
healthy
there's, like,
and not
no
too
in
much.
between. You're either too fat or too thin.
I guess when they don't say anything is when you're fine. When they haven't
Exactly.
commented on your weight in a really long time, you're doing well in their eyes.
Mhm, mhm.
To sort of wrap things all up, as far as Manila, I guess I could just go over some history again. I mean, I did mention how Manila got its name, but it was actually founded by Spanish conquistadors around 1570.
Little
And
trivia answer there for you.
yeah. And I think that because it was founded by Spanish conquistadors, I don't know if it was actually founded or it was just discovered by Spanish conquistadors and then they just took over. I think that's probably more so the case. But because of that, the Tagalog language has a lot of Spanish influence. So there are a lot of similar words between Spanish and Tagalog, like baño, bathroom, cuartos, room, zapatos, shoes, pantalones, stuff like that. So the Filipino language and Spanish have a lot of similar words, or same words, I should say. And I think that has a lot to do with Manila being discovered by Spanish conquistadors, and then they just wanted to conquer maybe all of Philippines. Um, but Pampanga, which is where Patty is from, is actually just an hour and 30 minutes away from Manila by car. So I'm sure that you fly into Manila and then you just take like a taxi or something to Pampanga.
No, we recruit family members to pick us up in a
Oh,
big van with our balikbayan boxes and yeah, ship us back to the province. Actually, I haven't been home since going back to the States. So it's been, I think, 14 years now. So it's been a while.
wow.
So all of these stories that I'll be telling you are from memory and also from research because we educated here.
We try to be educated at least.
We try, yeah, we're trying to be, as you know from the pilot episode. Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, I guess this is a good segue into Pampanga. And
Pampanga. I don't know what that was.
so the province of Pampanga is, as you said, Kim, about an hour and a half. Actually, with all that traffic, I remember it being 2 to 3 hours away, but
That
it's
makes more
62
sense.
ish kilometers northwest of Manila. And so it's part of the Luzon region. So, as I mentioned
Ah,
in the beginning, there are three main parts. So, you have Luzon in the north, Visayas in the middle, and Mindanao in the south. So,
yes.
we're in Luzon right now, north of Manila. So, Pampanga got its name from the word pampang or riverbank. So, the natives, like myself, are called Kapampangan, which literally means riverbank dwellers. And it was actually the first province created by the Spaniards, making it the first ever province of the Philippines. And why that
Oh,
is because it's also near a bay, so you can easily access it through ship or boat or something like that. So maybe they came from the west and then they stumbled into Pampanga and then that's where they kind of started.
nice. Kind of not
Yeah.
similar. Or a little, there are some similarities with that in Manila with the Spanish, you know, taking over or
Yeah, and
discovering by bay.
I wonder which one they discovered first. Actually, I didn't look up the name. I think it was in the 1500s as well, but maybe
Yeah,
the years are just a little bit apart because obviously if they were already in either Manila or Pampanga, they just have to make their way
true.
towards.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to do a deeper dive and see what was the actual first place in the Philippines discovered and then developed.
Yeah, but by conquistadors because obviously Filipinos were already there. Just your classic
Yes.
history. I don't know. I want to say like white man conquering. their- so the municipality that our town was in is called Guagua, and as you might kind of hear it, but you kind of hear aqua there, but it's also because it's by the water, and then the Spanish word aqua had some influence in it too. And the Filipino name for it was wawa, literally like wawa, WAWA. And so they put that together and then it created this name, guagua. And then our
Oh,
barrio is called Betis. And our barangay is called San Juan Nepomuceno. There's a lot of like San Juan areas there. So San Juan Nepomuceno, San Miguel, San Nicolas, yeah.
oh,
So
okay.
it's all within like Guagua, or sorry, within Pampanga. So as Kim said, I speak Kapampangan, and actually, according to the website alviera.ph, early anthropologists have posted that the language that we use as Kapampangans might have originated from Java, Indonesia. Isn't that crazy? Because
Yeah.
I was just talking to a candidate or somebody for my job, and they're from Indonesia, and he was showing me some articles about the reopening of the country, but pretty much because of the current situation. And some of the words, I felt like they were familiar, but not quite. And I guess this is why, because of that influence, if this is true.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
so yeah, and Kapampangan is actually taught or even studied formally in universities and schools, which I thought was pretty cool because I think as a native, I mean for me it's kind of already disappearing a bit, but now as I'm growing,
Mhm.
I'm like, man, I need to relearn it or want to relearn it as well. So it's good that it's kind of being perpetuated in schools too. So, and some words or phrases in Kapampangan sound like this. If you're saying how are you, you would say it in Tagalog as kamusta ka, and then
Mhm.
in Kapampangan it would be kamusta na ka. So
Ah.
it sounds similar, but you hear the difference, right? In tone and spelling
Was
as well.
was the difference in the na? So, kumusta na ka? Or
It's also in kamusta. It's instead of a, like ka, it's ko.
oh,
It's like komusta.
yeah.
And then also saying thanks a lot is dakal salamat. So Tagalog it be, how would you say in Tagalog? Like
Oh, maraming salamat.
maraming salamat. Yeah, so for me it's dakal salamat. And then
Interesting. Cool.
yeah, and then you know the Filipino tradition of taking your elder's hand and then kind of bowing or pressing it,
Yeah,
putting it up
bless.
against the forehead. Yeah, so you say bless po or something, or I don't know.
Yes.
In Tagalog, what is it? Do you know?
Um, I think honestly it's bless.
There's also a lot of Taglish with Tagalog. So
Yeah, a lot of Taglish, and I'm definitely a big user of Taglish.
but yeah, so in Kapampangan, it's called, or you say siklod po.
Oh, okay. We call our elders po, or not call our elders, but any actually that goes for nearly anyone you're trying to show respect. So even if it was, I'm not an elder, I'm not old. I mean, I'd like to think I'm not old, but my younger cousins would call me po. So anyone that's kind of older than you and that you need to show respect, you would refer to them as po. Like, and when you say yes, you say opo instead of oo. So oo is yeah
Yeah.
in Tagalog, and then opo is yes with respect. But is it the
Yeah.
same in
For us, it's the same, but it's like with a pu. It's like PU instead of PO.
with a poo?
With a insert shit emoji here.
Oh my god, that's so disrespectful when we're talking about respect. It's because you're the poo. You're the okay. That's a
Oh,
bad
I'm the
joke.
poo, man. Okay, yeah, let's move on. Going into customs now, or I guess it's generalizations, but so, Filipinos, there's a lot of areas, and someone from Manila might be like, oh, you're Kapampangan. And there's just that like underlying thing with Kapampangans. I found 5 interesting facts about us Kapampangans that I didn't even know. I just thought this was maybe my family, but it's, I guess, a lot of Kapampangans are like this. So the first one
Ooh.
being Kapampangans talk loud when they're together, which is so true. And as you just heard a little bit of the language, it's kind of like an aggressive tone when you say something like
Can
"Dakala
you
salamat." It's
thank
like
you.
a
Yeah.
yeah, the reason why they do this is because their with their community is so strong that it literally it although it sounds like they're arguing it with each other, it's just because they're trying to find like that connection, especially in the US, like in Vallejo,
Oh.
in that area, there would be some like Kapampangan festivals, and oh my gosh, I went to one and I actually took Taylor there with me or invited her not knowing she was gonna be there, and
Yeah.
Taylor is a friend from college, and she's Caucasian, so she's, like, not Filipino at all, and then I was like I felt bad for her being there, but she got some good food,
I
so
could imagine
I guess
it's pretty intense when you're not used to that way of speaking to one another.
yeah, right? Like a gentle, like, "Hey, how are you?" to like, "Oy, kamusta na ka?"
Sound like I was there at the festival.
Second point, so Kapampangans are very proud of their race because many Kapampangans have checked the box for everything, resulting in Kapampangans feeling that they're the best in and the most in everything. And I'm
Ooh.
like, when I first read that, I was like, huh? Like, I don't get it. Like, am I? And then I started thinking, oh man, okay, I do see that growing up, not with me, but, like, with my mom, they're always even within the family, like, with her sisters, they're always in competition, and one has to be the best, and it's like, "Why?" But this is, I guess, from the roots of our culture is that, back when the Spaniards were there, apparently Kapampangans were the bravest soldiers, the best cooks, and I guess the Philippines' first women author came from there, and the first
Oh,
novel in
sick.
English was written by a Kapampangan. And yeah, so I thought, wow, that's kind of cool. And do you know Leia Salonga? She sang Reflection, the song in Mulan. She's actually from there, from Pampanga. I didn't know
Mm,
that.
okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Man, sounds like Kapangpangans are like the Leos of Philippines in the zodiac that Leos are known, if you believe in any of the horoscope stuff, but Leos are known to think they're the best in everything and at everything always. So that's funny. That's really cool that the first female author came from Pampanga and the first novel in English. That is really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really good comparison though for that. So just sorry, I said I had 5 points. I just meant 4. But the third point now is Kapampangans are notorious basher. True. True.
Chismosas.
Yeah, but maybe I mean, maybe this goes to all Filipinos, but I mean, yeah, Kapampangans are very, like, highly opinionated, contentious, and I was like, "Why?" And then they explained that it's probably because it comes from the pampering by their colonial masters who gave them
Oh,
access to exclusive schools in Manila or Madrid too. So it was during the Spanish conquest. So when they come back to
wow.
Pampanga, they're like, "Mhm, mhm, I'm bougie, I'm educated."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then also Kapampangans are deeply religious, which I feel like it's throughout the Philippines, and there's even different religions
Definitely.
in the Philippines. But I put that there because I truly remember. I mean, even now, my mom's like, "Did you pray?" Like, she still asks me that, which sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But
Yeah,
I do have a story, and I think you already know this, of how I became an altar girl. Like, I was very highly active
that's
in
right.
church, serving during masses with the white robe and everything, and helping out.
Oh,
So
wow, little church girl.
yeah, so moving on to the topic of food and traditional delicacies, did you know that Pampanga is actually known for being the culinary capital of the Philippines?
What?
Yeah. I mean, as much as Manila has all this fusion and stuff, Kapampangans are known as really good cooks. Like, I still get
Awesome.
asked when I tell a Filipino or Filipina, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'm from Pampanga," and they're like, "Do you know how to cook?" And I'm like, but
Yeah. I mean, I would say you
yeah,
are a good cook. It makes sense.
but, like, Filipino food and stuff.
Yeah, oh, yeah, like traditionally, the
Exactly.
foods that come from there. So the
Yeah,
food capital you're saying, or how did you refer to it?
the culinary capital.
Culinary capital.
Yeah, the best chefs come from there, and I remember when we moved to the US, my grandma would cook batches and batches of food and sell it to fellow Filipinos in the US, so I don't know.
I'm, like, trying to remember, have I had some of your grandma's cooking? I probably have.
Yeah, but it's probably, like, way before we like, in high school, so maybe you don't remember much.
Yeah, the only Filipino delicacy I would say that I remember having with you and at your house was what is it called? You know, the rice pudding in the banana leaf? It's
Oh,
one word.
suman, suman.
Suman. Suman,
Yeah,
yeah, and that
oh
was
my
really good, yeah.
gosh,
Love
that is
suman.
so good with some it's called latik, which is you use coconut milk and or, like, cans and cans of coconut milk, and then you simmer it for a
Yes.
while, and it turns brown, and it's just like this,
Ugh,
coconut goodness.
gutom na ko. I'm hungry now.
Listeners, is your mouth watering yet? So some of the common dishes that Kapampangans kind of put up there is, like you mentioned earlier, kare kare, which
Mm,
is oxtail and vegetables and peanut soup, but you can
mhm.
easily veganize that, and it's so good. It's not like soup, like, it's not thin soup, but it's more like a sauce, and you eat it with rice and bagoong, shrimp-based. Um,
it's like a paste, a shrimp paste.
yeah,
Yeah,
paste. I've actually been trying to find a vegan shrimp paste, and I was looking at recipes to make it vegan, but I don't know, it just I
not
just
having
haven't
much
gotten
luck.
around to trying it out.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I forget what they use as a base, but I just know it's not gonna be the same, or maybe, I'll let you know when I try it out.
Yeah, please.
Other dishes are kilawin, which is kind of like a ceviche. So it's a fresher
Oh,
type of side. I've actually never had it, or I don't remember having it before, but I thought that was interesting that it has this kind of Mexican flavor, or is
yeah.
it I mean, each country in Latin America has their own type of ceviche, but, yeah, I just thought that was really interesting that it was influenced like that. Um,
Yeah, that's the first or that's the first food you mentioned that I wasn't so sure of. I was like, "What?" But that's interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, I guess the Spanish maybe had that influence.
and then also sizzling sisig. Have you had it before?
Mm, yes, definitely. And that um so it originates from Kapampangan, but I think it's spread throughout the Philippines. It's definitely one of the most popular dishes, at least
Yeah.
in my opinion. I've definitely had it a lot before I went vegan, and even after going vegan, you can make it with mushrooms and tofu, and it has a very similar taste still. And when one of my first meals in the Philippines, this last time that I visited, I had vegan sisig from a traditional
Mm,
Filipino restaurant. So it's really cool that it
wow.
was very easily veganized. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
sisig.
Yeah, and the traditional way to cook it is with ground up pork, so different body parts of pork, but,
Mhm.
probably the same thing you can use for a vegan one is calamansi, which is a small type of lemon, or sorry, lime?
Yeah, it's like a sweeter lime.
Yeah, I remember it being, like, pretty unique to the Philippines. There's even, like, calamansi juice, which is, like, so good. Sisig also has some vinegar to it, onions, and lots of spices. And also, I remember this being a main dish for pulutan, which is like having or something you snack on while you're drinking, or like while the people are drinking. So, because they can just like eat it, and it's like little bits, and it's pretty filling too. So,
Yeah,
belly tamed while you're drinking alcohol.
yeah.
Um, Yeah, and just one more thing with food. I just remember lots of bakeries around, and you just smell the bread from like miles away in the mornings, and also like pandesal, ooh,
Oh,
which is like Filipino
yes.
rolls.
Puto, I know that that's a bad word in Spanish, but that's actually a dessert in the Philippines and something that you would be able to find in a bakery as well. Oh,
Mhm.
I can
Yeah.
smell it all now. Before we stop talking about the food, I wanted to ask you a question.
Yeah,
Pero sa Tagalog, ano ang iyong paboritong ulam? Alam mo yan?
yeah, alam ko 'to. Um, ang paboritong ulam ko, oy, chicken adobo.
Akala ko kare-kare. That's what I thought it would be.
Hindi. Pero now, I would have it with some mushrooms or something like that.
Oh my gosh, I love
Did I
this.
sound like your mom?
Yeah, oh my gosh.
For you, ano yung paborito mong ulam?
Akong paboritong ulam, no, di
Ang
ko alam.
paboritong ulam ko ay
Oh, ang
yan,
paboritong ulam ko, how is this
you
is
say
just gonna be
I,
Taglish, y'all.
A-Y. Yeah, I did. I
Yeah,
Taglished you all the way back there, so
man,
good.
is also, uh, pareho kami is also, adobo. I really love adobo.
And I think adobo is made differently with or depending on the cook, or like where the cook or chef
Yeah.
is from, because I know that my grandma's adobo is I don't know, I think it has a lot more vinegar than some, because it's
Mm.
like soy sauce and vinegar mixed together.
Oh,
So,
I probably really like hers then because I love
yeah,
the vinegar part of it.
it's so good.
Ugh. And we'd always have that. I mean, throughout the Philippines, you'll have that with kanin, which is rice. And kanin is had for nearly every meal, even in the morning, like for breakfast with itlog, which is
Yes,
egg, and,
or
you know,
longanisa.
longanisa, which is like a sausage. And yeah, there
Mhm.
are ways to, I don't know if anyone cares, but there are ways to veganize that, because I still definitely miss those comforting flavors from our childhood. Uh,
Yeah, for
Maybe
sure.
we could segue into childhood then.
Yeah. For me, things that stand out are definitely, as you mentioned earlier, the tricycles. Those so when I was young, my mom made friends with this one tricycle driver. We actually called them trike. So for sure.
Oh,
So this guy was my service. So he picked me up in the morning and then like drove me to school every day and then would pick me up same time, and lots of kids were taken to school this way actually. So that's one childhood memory that I'm like very fond of. And
ikaw lang sa like your trike? Like it would just be that person bringing you? Wow.
yeah, sometimes there would be other pickups, but mostly it was me, and my mom kind of paid a little bit more extra
Special.
to get me there. A good life in the
Multi-bills of
Philippines.
fame.
Yeah. And then also badminton. I know this is like things that you mentioned earlier, but really these were my fondest memories. So in the Philippines, the roofs of houses are pretty low. Like you're not having two-story houses. I mean,
Yes.
some neighborhoods you do, but in the area that I lived in, there were some like roofs that were lower. So every time we would hit the what is it, the ball with the badminton,
Mhm.
oh gosh, someone is always gonna get it stuck, and I remember having to climb up to get it, like, on the roof and then just, like, toss it over and then try to, like, wiggle your back down or sorry,
Oh,
wiggle back down, yeah.
yeah.
Um, and then this is gonna be an interesting memory, but flooding.
Oh my gosh, yes. That's a major thing.
Yeah, people trip over flooding in the US, and I remember thinking, "Why? Like, why are you tripping? This is normal." And then, of course, it took me some time to realize, "Oh, that's not a normal thing, like, outside of or, in a lot of places."
And that's so funny because literally that's a huge example of something that we contrast in. So I didn't grow up in the Philippines, and when I first visited the Philippines, it flooded, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, like what's going to happen?"
Oh,
I thought people
no.
were going to die. I was so scared. I remember being in the jeepney and we couldn't even move cuz we went into a flood, and I
Yeah,
was like freaking out, and afterwards I realized no one else like within my family was freaking out, and they were just telling me like this is normal, this is fine. And so when I came back to the States, I realized when floods happened, I was the same way. I had the same perspective. Like, actually, no, it's not a big deal. Like, what's the
yeah.
fuss about? So that's funny that you brought that up. Yeah.
Yeah, and as a child, you this is gonna sound gross, but, like, some of us went swimming in the flood, and mind you, the Philippines is not like your backyard pool kinda clean, Kim, and so, we would go swimming there because, I mean, there were no pools around.
So you guys would like look forward to the flood.
Yeah, we were like, "Ooh, when is the next flood coming?"
Wow.
And then also other flooding activities, catching tadpoles. Have you ever caught one or seen tadpoles?
I have, you know what's funny? In this pool.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I don't know how they managed to survive or how they even got in there, but I remember there was a time I was swimming with my cousin, and then we were both getting scared because we would see little black things swim past us, because we
Yeah.
would,
Oh my
we were
god.
makulit, which is kind of like troublesome makulit, and we would always open our eyes in the water, and we didn't care about goggles, and we'd see them like zoom past us, and we're like, oh, what is that? And then one time there was a frog in the filter of my pool. So I guess
Ooh.
a tadpole had its whole life until it grew up to
Yeah.
be a frog in there, which is so weird. But
Whoa,
so you would
that's
catch
crazy.
them. That's impressive because we were
Yeah.
never able to catch them.
Yeah, I know it was a sport, girl. It was a sport. And I mean, the flood is literally up to my waist, so, like, a 4-foot child, you're like I mean, that's pretty deep. And actually, one time, my mom, of course, who was taller than me back then, and, I mean, we're kinda reaching the same height now.
Yeah.
But, I remember we had to go somewhere special or important, so she ended up blowing up a boat, like a little raft boat, and putting me and my little brother there, and she, like, pulled us up to, like, the canto, which is, like, the corner or, like, the beginning of the barangay, and that was where the flood wasn't as, like, deep, 'cause in
Oh,
our
yeah.
barangay, it was, like, deeper, so she pulled us all the way over there, and then, like, so that we didn't have to, like, basically drown or swim in to get to where we needed to be. I mean, to us, that was fun.
That picture to me sounds so adorable. That's so sweet of her. Oh.
Yeah, too bad was like, Instagram or iPhones weren't a thing back then 'cause
Imagine
yeah.
stories like that, like, in the riding the
I'm
flood.
in the flood, ratatata or bloop, 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 bloop.
Boop, boop, boop.
But yeah, compared to my life now or even a year after I moved to the US, I remember I just have very fond memories of the Philippines and, like, how simple life was back there, so
Mm,
if you're trying to find kind of a laid back atmosphere where you just, I don't know, wanna enjoy good food, good weather, and good hospitality, I highly recommend you visiting the Philippines and maybe
yeah.
visit the urban life and also a province like Pampanga, now that you know so much more about it now.
Yeah,
People really like there's actually even, like, hot air balloon festivals in February there, so, try to visit these spots that are more, like, off the beaten path and try to do some research, of course, before it, and I'm sure
I
you'll have a great
completely
time.
agree. Yeah. The Philippines is an amazing travel destination, and again, I was just recently there, and it's nice to get, that city vibe. So in Manila, and then go to maybe a province like Pampanga, and then even an island like Boracay or Palawan is getting a lot of buzz lately. But it's important to do things that are, like Patty said, off the beaten path. I think that's very important to get a great sense of culture. And I'm sure if you really explore the Filipino culture, you will grow to love it. Yeah, we're kind of biased because we are Filipino, but it's the best. And I'm not fully Filipino, but I'm so much closer to my Filipino roots. I would say that's why when Patty actually suggested us bringing up and discussing our heritage, I was so excited. Pinoy pride.
Yeah, woohoo!
Filipino pride up here. Okay.
Thanks so much for listening, and don't forget to subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to, whether that's Spotify or Apple or YouTube. Check it out, and
Pinahahalagahan namin kayo lahat. That means we appreciate you all, and we do. We thank you so much for listening. And this is now our anong episode to?
episode 4 now,
So isa,
I
dalawa,
think.
tatlo. So apat. Episode
Apat.
apat. I don't know.
Apat
Yeah,
ng
I think it is.
episode,
There you go. With that, magandang umaga from, how do I say, like, Sakim? No.
um,
How would I say from
from
me? Magandang umaga from Kim.
and Maya Pabengi from Patty.
And you'll hear us next week. What is goodbye?
Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.